Welcome to the Recon Trader. In today's video I will show you how to set up and then deploy one of BYBIT's future grid bots, and in this case, because it's trading the futures contracts, you can either go short, long, or neutral. And for the purpose of this video, the grid bot I will be deploying will be one of the neutral futures grid bots. So if you're not familiar with how a grid bot actually operates, it's actually quite simple. A grid bot buys low and sells high. Now, the difference with the futures grid bot, rather than just a standard traditional grid bot, which is always on the long side, you could go short, and thus it would be selling high and buying low for profit. Or in this case, for today's video, the neutral grid bot will actually trade both sides of the line depending on where the price action is. And so if I deploy the grid bot with the market price in the middle of the grid, the red lines being the sell orders and the green lines being the buy orders, if my market price when I deploy the grid bot is in the middle of these grid lines, when the price is above the market price, the grid bot will be short. And when the price is below the market price, the middle line essentially, the grid bot will be operating in a long position, buying on the way down, thus taking out these green lines or these open limit buy orders, and then it would be selling for profit on the way up, as the red lines would be your open limit sell orders. And once the price got back above the market price, or the price I essentially deployed the bot at, it would start going short. And so as the price was going up, it would be accumulating a short position on these red lines, these open limit sell orders. And once the price started rolling over and going back down, it would be buying for profit as it took out the green lines or the open limit orders. So hopefully you have a little bit of an understanding of how this neutral grid bot will actually work. It will be short if the price is above my initial deployment line, and it will be long if the price is below that initial deployment price. Now, with that all being said, let's jump over to BYBIT and get one of these grid bots deployed. So over here on BYBIT, you will obviously need to log into your BYBIT account. Now, if you don't have a BYBIT account, I will drop a link in the description down below. And if you use my link, I believe you get a bit of a discount on your trading fees. Right now, BYBIT is offering 0 fees on spot trading. However, you still pay your traditional fees over on the futures contracts. So if you use my link, you'll get a bit of a discount on those fees. Once you have signed up and obviously made your first initial deposit, those funds typically go into your spot account, and you will need to transfer those funds from your spot account. You can see I have $765 over in this particular spot account. You'll need to transfer some of those funds over to your derivatives account so that you have available funds to deploy said grid bot. And you can easily make that transfer by clicking on the transfer button and select spot to derivatives. What coin do you want to transfer? In this case, we'll be trading BTC USDT. So I need USDT available in my spot account, and I have $765 available. So let's transfer $265 over there. Click confirm. And now in my spot account, instead of $765, I have $500. And in my derivatives account, instead of having $500, I have $765 available. Now I'm ready to go ahead and deploy this grid bot, and there's actually a couple different ways you can deploy these grid bots. The first is if you hover over the trade tab up here at the top of the screen, you can scroll down to trading bot, give that a click. That will bring you over to the trading bot dashboard, and you can scroll down to where you see futures grid bot and give that a click. And from the setup screen, you could basically use the AI strategy that BYBIT provides. You would just want to select what pair you want to trade. In this case, like I mentioned, BTC USDT is what I will be trading. You then select whether you want to go neutral, and that will provide you with the AI parameters. Now, if I click on long, you can see those parameters change slightly. The number of grids for the long position is greater than when they have the AI set up number of grids for the neutral. You can see is only 26. And then if I select short, you can see that is somewhere in between the long number of grids and the neutral number of grids. So each one has its own AI strategy. Really, after you determine the pair and what direction you want to trade, the only other thing really for you to do is determine how much ammo you want to give this bot to go to battle with. It will tell you the minimum amount depending on the strategy you select. In this case, if I select the long strategy, I need a minimum of 454 given these current parameters. If I select the neutral bot, I would only need 187 USDT if I went with the AI parameters. Now, after you determine the investment amount, you do have a couple of advanced settings. This is optional, but you can set up a take profit percentage and a stop loss percentage if you desire. Now, I typically don't go with the AI settings. I typically go with the manual settings. So I would click on manual. At that point, again, I would select what pair I want to trade, the direction I want to go, neutral, long, or short. In this case, like I said, I'd be going neutral. And then my lower price limit, which again, if we refer back to the example, you have a lower price limit, which is this big green bold line at the bottom, and an upper price limit, which is the big red bold line I have here on the chart. So that would be the upper and lower price limits for this particular grid example. And if the price goes above or below, basically your bot is out of the fight and you have to wait for it to get back within range before you start actually trading again. And so typically you want to make sure that your bot stays in the fight the whole time. So you want to be pretty selective on your lower and upper price. I typically go off of previous support and resistance levels and then give it a little more room to maneuver above and below those levels. And so, for example, if we select 14,000 for our lower price and 19,000 for our upper price, we then want to set up the number of grids in between these two levels. And if we go with, say, 49, that would give us a profit per grid of 2.95% to 4.76% based on leverage. Now, because this is a futures grid bot, you are using leverage. So this is much higher risk than a standard spot grid bot. You can actually get liquidated and blow up your account by using too much leverage. And so I typically with grid bots don't use more than 3x leverage. And by lowering my leverage to 3x versus the 10x, which was the default, you can now see my profit per grid is 0.89% to around 1.45%. Next, I need to determine how much ammo I actually want to give this bot to go to battle with, which would be the investment amount. The minimum is $362. After I determine my investment amount, back to those optional advanced settings, take profit, stop loss. Once I've determined all that, I click create now. Pretty basic setup, but I prefer actually setting up these grid bots via the derivatives tab up here at the top of the screen. If I hover over that and scroll down to the USDT perpetual contracts, again, I can scroll down through the different pairs of trading. In this case, I will be trading BTC USDT. Give that a click. And that will bring up the trading dashboard that I typically use when I'm actually day trading. You can see BTC, USDT, perpetual contracts that I would be trading for this particular strategy. And speaking of strategy, because I'm going with a grid bot rather than traditional day trading, I need to come over here to the right-hand side of the screen where it says strategy. Give that a click, and that will bring up the grid bot strategy. Very similar parameters to what we saw over in the other setup screen. I just prefer to set it up over here because now I can actually eyeball support and resistance levels that I might want to go ahead and set up this grid bot on. So for instance, 18,000 back here was a level of resistance. Actually, might even go into like the 18.5 level. And then as far as support goes, you can see all the way down here around 15.5 is where Bitcoin has found support and is now essentially trading sideways. So now that I have collected that intel as far as upper and lower price limits, I'm ready to configure this grid bot, and the first thing I need to determine is what direction I want to go with this grid bot. I can go long, I can go short, but again, I'm going to be deploying a neutral grid bot today. Next, I need to determine the actual leverage. And as I mentioned, I typically don't go more than 3x with my grid bots, so I can lower that from the default 10 to 3. Click confirm. Now it is confirmed at 3x. Unfortunately, I typically prefer to go with isolated, and right now it's set at cross, and I haven't figured out a way to change that. I don't think there is. When I'm day trading, I can actually switch between isolated and cross, but under the grid bot section right now, it is only set up as cross. And so cross basically means all of my funds available in the actual derivatives account could be at risk for this grid bot. Where with isolated, it would be isolated strictly to the funds I actually give the bot. So hopefully in the future, they will switch this where I can actually toggle between cross and isolated. However, I will be setting up a stop loss, so that should protect my other funds from being actually involved in this trade. Next, I need to determine that lower price range and the upper price range, and we are going to go with 18.5 for the upper, which I determined based on previous resistance. And then my lower price range, while 15.5 is support, I think Bitcoin has a possibility of breaking lower. So I am going to set that at, say, 13.5. And so now I've given the bot a price range of 13.5 for the lower and 18.5 for the upper. Now I need to determine how many grids I actually want to give this grid bot. And I can go anywhere from 2 to 112. Let's just go for, say, 40. And now that I've determined the number of grids, you can see those grids have now populated the chart over here, and I have red lines and green lines. The red lines are open limit sell orders, and the green lines are open limit buy orders. Now, if I was to deploy this bot right now with Bitcoin's price right around 16,150, you can see that the price, the market price, is essentially pretty much in between the middle of this grid. And that to me would be an ideal setting for a neutral grid bot. That way, if the price is going down, I am of course going to be long, and when the price is going up, I'm going to be short. And if I can get Bitcoin to continue to chop within this range, it should produce a decent profit. Now I need to give the bot some ammo to go to battle with, and the minimum I need to give this bot is 286, so we'll go ahead and give it 290. And then last, I can set up a take profit and a stop loss. In this case, I'm going to set my take profit to 15%. If this bot makes 15%, I'll be happy to shut it down. And then a stop loss of 5%. That is essentially giving me a 1-to-3 risk versus reward ratio. It's real important to make sure anytime you're trading, you have a positive risk versus reward ratio. And in this case, I have a 1-to-3 risk versus reward ratio. So now I'm ready to deploy the bot. So now I can click on create grid. It will just basically confirm my total investment is going to be 290 USDT. My price range is 13.5 to 18.5. The number of grids is 40. The take profit amount, it will be 15%, and my stop loss would be 5%. And as you can see, I'm not going to be anywhere close to being liquidated. The worst thing you can do is get liquidated anytime you're day trading. You should always have a stop loss that prevents you from being liquidated. So now all it's left to do is click confirm. And now you can see my BTC USDT grid bot, which I deployed neutral with 3x leverage, is active. And you can see the price range of 13.5 to 18.5. The number of grids is 40. Total investment was 290. I've got a take profit and stop loss set up. And that pretty much wraps it up. Now I will do an update video in the near future on how this bot is performing. So now would be a good time to shoot the subscribe button so you don't miss that future update video. If you like this video, do me a favor, spike a like. If you have any questions or comments, drop them in the comment section down below, and I will drop a link to BYBIT in the description down below. So until next time, remember, never send your money into battle without first doing your recon. See you in the next video.